the current environment's not the best for that fight now, but mandatory. He wants to have a fight. Yeah, we've been here before, Rob, with Ruiz. You know, get through this one, then we'll get Wilder, or you know. And now it's like, but that was with people, as we've seen the last couple of weeks. Frankly, don't know their arse from their elbow. We're dealing with different people, Fury. Whether that's Aaron, whether that's MTK. You know, I spoke to Frank, but I'm sure we will as well. And I trust, want to do it. Trust that Fury wants to do it. Never trusted Wilder, Eddie Finkel, or those guys to do the AJ fight. I just did not believe them. Got a lot of stick. They, you know, he played a great game. Where is he now? Voice now. You know, and I think the reality is shining through. Of, you know, I believe they ever wanted the Anthony Joshua fight, and I don't believe they want the Tyson Fury fight. Now, how can they? So I believe that we have team there want to fight Anthony Joshua. They believe beat Anthony Joshua. We feel exactly the same side. Beat Tyson Fury.
Those are the words of Eddie Hearn in regards to Deontay Wilder and Team Wilder, what he believed they want with Tyson Fury, or should I say don't want with Tyson Fury, the third fight. And of course, he reflected on how the negotiations went back in 2018/19 with Team Wilder. And he was stating that when you want to fight, it's going to happen. You conduct yourself in a certain way. You do certain things, right? And you have to admit, if you look into everything said and done, up to this point, okay, up to this point, Eddie Hearn has a point. If you think about the negotiations from late 2018, or should I just say 2018, to the beginning of 2019, you could tell that the way they treated those negotiations, they really spoke little of. Deontay Wilder in the beginning part of 2019, one thing he did say, or should I say stop saying, is that Anthony Joshua was a coward. He started more relying on and what it means to be loyal and loyalty and who you should stay with, and other people left Showtime and all that shit. Remember that? Instead of the fight that he claimed he wanted, one face, one champion, one name. Remember that? I remember it very well because I covered it all. That started all this shit. Okay? And Wilder really didn't say anything about Joshua until he lost. And then he kicked him when he was down. He was happy as shit. Okay? But when Wilder was here in America to fight whoever the fuck, because he had 3 or 4 people that he could have fought when Jarrell Miller dropped the ball, right? He wanted to sit down with Wilder and get the fight aired out with Wilder. Then all of it, a day later, Wilder said, "Oh, I'm fighting this guy and this guy," which was lies. He was not fight. He did not sign to fight Tyson Fury. He might have been in talks to fight Tyson Fury. But guess what? Tyson Fury had already showed him his ass when he signed with ESPN. Okay? Luis Ortiz, for some reason, missed an opportunity of a lifetime. He could have been Andy Ruiz at this point. Control. Because he was promised a fight with Wilder, which he got. So fair play to Luis Ortiz. He did get the rematch. And he got knocked out. But who's to say he wouldn't have beat Joshua? But here's the deal. Back to Wilder. Wilder treated that as nonchalant. He was those contracts were sending over. And it was very strange when people are sending contracts on how you treat that or how your people treat that. Either, like Shelly Finkel said, we're not even worried. We're not concerned about that right now, this, that, and the other. And these guys were chasing Fury, and Fury already told you where to go. Why are you doing that? See, and it makes sense. Where are they at right now? You turned down all that money to avoid a certain fighter. Now to turn around, you're being outrun or outdid by a certain fighter. That same fighter now is overshadowing you because the desire for the fans want to see Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua, not another fucking Wilder Fury fight. But whose fault is that? Team Wilder. Because they could have took the advantages. They've already talked themselves into raising their profile, getting a chunk of money from Showtime. Then Showtime drops them. Then they come back. Fox PBC picks them back up, right? And then he loses. Okay. And now he gets quiet. A person that says, shut me up. I want somebody to shut me up. Okay, now you're shutting up. Now you're not saying a damn thing. And it's weird because you look at it at the end of the day, you have someone like Eddie Hearn was claiming, hey, I told y'all we wanted to fight Wilder. And you have to look at it. What holds more merit? Someone talking shit about how they want to fight or someone sending contracts over for a fight? Draw your conclusions with that. Because that's exactly what it was. And they admitted, yes, contracts were being sent over. Eddie Hearn was saying, I sent him over. I sent him a percentage deal. Because, Lennox Lewis was behind Wilder because he was trying to get Wilder a percentage split of the money, which was nothing really wrong with that. The only problem was Wilder wasn't as known. He was one champion, one belt, very little known. High knockout percentage, undefeated. Again, very little known. Current salary at the time, 1.2, 2.1, 3 million, 900,000. Those are the salaries of Deontay Wilder at the time. Again, very little known. Okay, if he was all that and then some, he wouldn't have been getting that amount of money. And then they turn around and say, oh, well, we agreed to the 12.5. They say they didn't want it. No, you said they were slave wages. I remember it clean as day. You can't tell me things you did say after the fact. What did you initially say? That's slave wages. Eddie Hearn is milking Annabelle, which is Anthony Joshua's Annabelle, right? He runs his stuff like a plantation, talking that old bullshit slavery shit, right? That's what his analogy was when it came to getting paid. So 12 million turned into 15 million. It started less than that. It was like 5 or 6 million. Then 12.5, then 15 and all that shit. Remember that all this is valid. And then at some point in late 2018, they shut everything off because they had the Fury fight. And the Fury fight didn't go the way they thought it was going to go. Neither did 2019, but they turned down all that money. We can't make this shit up. Let's move on.
On that fight more than anything. But right now, the focus has to be dangerous fight. I don't expect Fury to have a dangerous fight December, and name him. If you really want to fight, he'll go and have an easy little fight, and he's just beat Wilder. Let him have one. We've got a real fight. Can't afford to sit there and say, yeah, Fury, let's do this. I can work behind the scenes on that, but we've got to be 1,000,000% focused on Pulev because he's a world-class fighter.
Now, to counterpunch that's very true. Very, very true. They do have a real fight. Tyson Fury will more than likely have a soft touch. That's what he does. That's his MO. What did Eddie Hearn say? We can't be messing around with Tyson Fury to see if he wants to fight. You can't be focused on Fury, nor anyone else besides Pulev. And you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me exactly what happened 2 years ago with Povetkin. Remember that? Povetkin was the mandatory for the WBA, right? So they didn't have any more time to be dicking around with Deontay Wilder throwing shade on Matchroom. You're talking shit about a promotional company that you claim you want to make a fight with. Make that make sense. You run it like a plantation. He like a slave master. Okay, I get you. I get you don't like the dude, but if you're not really trying to hear what that dude has to say, how can you convince everybody you really wanted that fight? Yes, we went back to that. So what did Team Joshua do? They fought the mandatory. Povetkin knocked him out in 7 rounds. A guy that once upon a time that you were supposed to fight. No fault of his own. But again, another credible opponent. Okay, with one loss, and that was to Vladimir Klitschko that gave Joshua hell in 2017, a year before that. right? Buckle Joshua a little bit. Pretty good scrap. Good fight. Solid fight. So this is consistent. Do you see Joshua? Team Joshua is staying consistent on their mandatories, on the things that they need to do, because at the end of the day, the guy that does what he's supposed to do will be the most one looked at with respect. Okay? And that's what, in consistency, because it ain't like Joshua, hey, let's stop everything, let's go after Fury. No, why would you do that? You know, that disrupts the whole thing. Now, Usyk is a totally different story. I hope he doesn't do that for Fury either. Fury should fight credible opposition as well. I don't agree with none of that shit. I didn't agree with Mayweather. Why am I going to agree with Fury? Fury needs to fight real competition. Get him in there with Oscar Rivas. Get him in there with F.A. Ajagba. Somebody that we know. Not these people you pull out a damn hat. Like a rabbit. Like a magic trick. Hey, here's another cherry pick. No, we don't need that. And again, like I said, if Wilder was ready to go and by now, they could have the fight in December in the UK if they really wanted it. But it seems to me like Team Wilder don't want the fight based on his quietness. Oh, he really wants it. He's disappointed. Well, fucking say something. It didn't stop you last year when you was undefeated. Counterpunch. It did not stop Wilder from being himself. Why has he stopped being himself all of a sudden? That's my counterpunch to that. Can somebody answer me that question? Okay? So what Eddie Hearn says is very, very credible. They have a real fight. They have to focus on that fight and see all the talk about Fury, this, that, and the other. I hope that doesn't spill over to Joshua, because Joshua, regardless of what Eddie Hearn's saying, he's saying the truth. But is he really focused on Kubrat Pulev with all this other shit going on? Because the same thing happened last year where Joshua was trying to get Wilder or Fury or whoever in the ring and couldn't get him in the ring. And he got somebody in the ring and somebody tapped that ass. And his name is Andy Ruiz Jr. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think about Eddie Hearn and his comments. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.